Today I'd like to introduce you to the Hamlin Gold story. We listed just over 18 months ago, and our flagship project, the West Tanami, up in the far northeast of Western Australia. So it's a real belt scale opportunity, 2,500 square kilometres, the western extension of a prolific gold belt that hosts one of Australia's and one of the world's great gold mines in the Tanami operations owned by Newmont. Our board, pretty experienced. We all, the geologists on the slide there, myself, Justin and Clayton, cut our teeth at Western Mining Corporation, which makes us old because that company's now gone almost 20 years ago. Philip Crutchfield, a King's Counsel based in Melbourne, was previous chairman of Zipco, took it to $1 billion market cap. Will Robinson, successful MD of exploration company Encounter Resources. So we've got a lot of history up there, a lot of experience. If you want Hamlin Gold's strategy in a nutshell, it's what Justin achieved at Gold Road. Joined that company just before discovery of the Gruyere deposit, took it from a junior to a $1.7 billion company it is today. So if you want Hamlin Gold's story, that's what we want to see in the next few years. Our cash position sees us not raising money anytime soon, and a very low enterprise value there sees our shareholders really exposed to exploration success. We're slightly different to a couple of the juniors you might hear from, but we have two cornerstone investors in Goldfields and Silver Lake, both gold producers in Western Australia. They've been great supporters. They in fact increased their stake in the company in the last capital raise, so really a vote of confidence for what we're doing and a very tight capital structure there. So to introduce you to the region, it's not many people probably know where the Tanami is, but it straddles the Northern Territory WA border. It's a gold province that extends over 400 kilometres of strike. Now, apart from a few I might upset, but really the ground holdings are held by four companies. Prodigy, who you heard from yesterday, just directly on our eastern border. Northern Star, through their joint venture with Central Tanami to the north. And the gorilla in the room, Newmont, there sitting in blue, some 100 kilometres to our east. This is the deposit they own there, which again gets very little talked about. It's 14 million ounces at 2018, it's probably closer to 20 million now. It's an absolute world-class asset. It's in fact Newmont's lowest cost gold production in the world, so not bad for the world's largest gold producer. And finding another Kali would be a big tick in the resume. What we see on the eastern side of the Northern Territory WA border is over 25 million ounces of gold recorded to discovery to date, and the West Australian side, less than 1 million. And that's not because Mother Nature stopped the gold at the border. Mike McGowan did a pretty good job of stopping everything else, but Mother Nature put the gold across the border. It's just vastly underexplored. The database we inherited when we took the project on has 70% of all the drill holes less than 10 metres deep, which I'll show you is pretty ineffective. So we think there's an opportunity to find many more multi-million ounce deposits. There should be, like most orogenic gold systems, have a giant and then have a tail of other deposits that might fit in the 2 to 5 or half to 1 million ounce sort of size range. And that's what the Tanami is missing. There's a few, there should be many more, and we think we've got the opportunity to find some in the West Tanami. So just to take away just a couple of things about the gorilla, Kali's operation and what we're learning from that, it is a true monster. It produces 500,000 ounces per annum now. It's being expanded to 700,000 ounces. As I said, their lowest cost production in the world. But what we want to learn from that is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If it works for Newmont, it's going to work for us. What you see there on the left-hand side is an image of the current footprint of that operation. But what I've overlaid there is the early stage shallow drilling that went across the top of that discovery. And what you see there is shallow drilling that is pretty detailed in parts. And when you look at it, there's one drill hole that had an assay above 1 gram per tonne over what is probably a 20 million ounce discovery. I mean, the surface conditions here are almost leached or much, much weaker than what you'd expect to sit over a major deposit. So when we've inherited a similar database of very shallow drilling, some of these coherent but very low-level gold anomalies are really important for us. The other thing is the chute controls are very much dominated by structure and geology, like they are in every orogenic gold system. But here we see pipes or chutes that have major life. They plunge down for up to 2 kilometres. The shaft that they've just put in there, I think it's 2.2 kilometres deep. So they're long-lived chutes, and if you can get onto one, you might find another parallel one and really add ounces fast. So we're taking these two learnings into our exploration program. But what we need to get really good at, 2,500 square k's for a junior. De Grey had sort of talked this morning about a very similar land package. They have got a few more geos than we do. We've got to get really good at prediction and detection. So that means the ability to put an X on the map where we think there might be a major gold system. And then we've got to get really good at being able to explore those X's on the map without going broke. We can drill from one side of the project to the other and run out of money very, very quickly, or we can get really good at trying to identify the gold systems very cheaply. And one of the things we're employing is the CSIRO developed ultrafine fraction soil sampling. So that's where you're taking a sample from the surface and trying to enhance the gold signal as best you can to try and see potentially underground or mineralisation under sand cover. We're also trying to learn from the history of what people have done in the past. And there's a real myth about exploration up here is that most of the geos would say arsenic and gold go together. If you find an arsenic anomaly, drill under it, you'll find gold. What this is plotting is our entire database with arsenic on the vertical and gold on the horizontal. There is no correlation between the two at all. So what it means is that gold is not, or arsenic is not a pathfinder to gold. When you look at some of the other elements on the database, which again haven't been assayed as frequently as arsenic, is you come across an element like bismuth. Now the correlation here is phenomenal. It's ridiculously tight and shows that probably gold and bismuth are coming in exactly the same fluid. That might be really exciting for me. What it means for us for exploration is that bismuth is quite a cool element. Like gold, as we saw over Kali, it gets depleted very rapidly in the very top part of the surface. But what we see is bismuth is far more stable, so it hangs around. So you might be able to go and explore an area, find a bismuth anomaly. It may well be giving you the footprint of the gold deposit that was there previously. Now, for those not excited and turned on by statistics and correlation coefficients, I'll try to make that a bit more diagrammatically interesting. So if this is the elephant you're looking for, the monster, the multi-million ounce gold ore body, it's not going to look like this in the Tanami. It's going to look a lot more like this, where the outside of the animal is depleted and weak, as in gold, so a subtle but coherent gold anomaly. But the skeleton inside the body is going to still have that strong bismuth signature. So this is one of the learnings that we've tried to employ into our exploration work, and I'll show you some of the results of what we've seen so far. So this is our tenement holdings, contiguous ground stretching over 100 kilometres from top left to bottom right. And I'll just show you two of the gold prospects, which we think from this early evaluation work has come up with some really interesting results. So I'll start with the top at Sultan, and I'll finish off with showing us that Mother Nature is pretty interesting at times, a little project down just south of the Coyote Gold Mine, which is owned by Black Cat Resources. So first up at Sultan. So this is a magnetic image, and the blue dotted line you're seeing there is a contact between sediments and the granites. It's a contact that was never previously drilled, and only about 2 kilometres of the contact had even seen any geochemistry. But what they had generated was a subtle gold anomaly with corridors of high-grade bismuth within that. And we've put one section of drilling across that contact. So that contact is 10 kilometres long. There is one line of drilling across the whole thing. So this is early days. But in that drill program, we intersected 7 metres at over 3 grams per tonne gold, including a metre at over half an ounce gold. So was this lucky? Was this fortuitous? Or is it actually telling us that maybe these subtle gold anomalies with the bismuth association is potentially a really powerful pathfinder to finding primary gold at depth? So we're following this area up. We've just completed another 6 kilometres of geochemistry across that contact using the ultrafine technology. And we're hoping that we can generate maybe even more intense mineralisation zones, which will lead and follow up our future drilling in this area. Going 20 kilometres away into a completely another part of the project, Newkirk is a 1.5 kilometre long coherent low-level gold anomaly. And what I've done here is colour-coded the sample points by bismuth. And you can see there in the top right of the, hopefully you can see there roughly central in the image, 3 sample points where the bismuth grades were above 25 ppm bismuth, which is very high. That's a significant anomaly. For some strange reason, the previous explorers stopped assaying for bismuth on that line. I don't get that. We've actually now extended that sampling further north and completed the rest of the corridor. But this target has a lot of the similarities to what you want to see from a Kali deposit. A beautifully folded sedimentary mafic sequence, a big bend in the fold axis, and a large gold anomaly sitting smack bang on that major fold axis. So this project has seen 4 drill holes that went down to 40 metres deep. It's just pretty well untested. We're actually getting out there with the rig. The rig arrives on site today, starts drilling on this project within the week, and we're going to do the first systematic drilling across this entire target that's ever happened. And that's going to be super exciting. One, to see if we're right with our bismuth gold story, and potentially this is the sort of footprint that you want to see over a multi-million ounce system. So hugely exciting target. Last one I'll just talk about before we wind up is where Mother Nature can be quite an interesting girl. This is the Fremlins project, which sits, as I mentioned, just south of the Coyote gold mine. It's a 6-kilometre long gold system. We've been focused on trying to understand that system and work out where the high-grade zones are between it. But in our exploration work, we identified or noticed a magnetic anomaly that you can see on the image down there in the bottom of the central part of the screen, which looks like a V. Hopefully that comes up pretty closely. And we put 3 holes across that to try and understand what that weird feature was and what it represented. And what we actually intersected was a mafic, ultramafic intrusion that contained nickel, copper and PGE sulfide mineralisation. Now this was completely never been noted before within the Tanami district that we know of. It's from a guy who's spent a bit of time in nickel. This is really exciting. To find a fertile intrusive that's never been recognised before in the belt, it starts asking us where are the other intrusions along this corridor that might be very similar. So this is early days but super exciting, and what we've managed to do is incorporate the testing of this with our other exploration work or gold work in the area. So we've just completed 8 drill lines across this area. 4 of them were targeting that intrusion at Hawkeye, and the other 4 were looking at extensions of the known gold systems where previous drilling had not tested accurately the continuation of those trends, and into some pretty interesting structural locations. So we believe we can not only follow the gold potential that we've identified, but also bring in this extra string in our bow, looking at the nickel, copper, PGE opportunities as well. And there's a little bit of gold in there, which is good for the conference as well. So we're not all non-gold. So we're right in the middle of it. We are busy as hell. We've just finished 2 drill programs, a major geochem program. We're about to start another major drill program. We'll probably see for a junior, we're putting 15 kilometres of drilling in the ground this year, which is pretty exciting for our shareholders to see some data in a really underexplored and an unknown gold trend. We're also going to follow up some ground EM on that nickel copper PG position, and hopefully get some follow-up drilling into the Sultan project and see if we've nicked the start of what might be one of these long-lived high-grade gold shoots. So an interesting time for our shareholders. Feel free to come by booth 2, and if you want to hear more stories about what we're doing up there in the Tanami, and I look forward to giving you updates in months and the years to come. Thanks for your time. Cheers.